Hey guys, this is PODFIC, and today we're going to be reading 5 Times Jason Todd Didn't Swear and 1 Time Bruce Did by Weatherboy But Derogatory. The summary is, Jason gets lectured by Bruce for swearing too much, and he figures he can have some fun with it. Cue concerned family members. Well, Jason said, turning towards the waffles which had started to beep. I'm hoping that by doing this, I can annoy everyone enough with my not cursing that he'll let me curse again. Dick stared at him. Alright, without further ado, let's hop right into Chapter 1. Having Jason hanging around was weird, to say the least. Not to say that Dick didn't enjoy it, didn't love having his younger brother back, but it'd been years. And just like Jay kept on reminding them, he wasn't the same. He'd changed. Before, his younger brother could light up a room, no matter what. Jason still could, of course, but sometimes he'd go days without talking, without looking anyone in the eye, without making a single remark that wasn't meant to hurt or push away, get back, stay away. Sometimes it felt like they were all waiting for some shoe to drop, for Jason's eyes to shine green, or Bruce to yell at him loud enough, or maybe for someone to make the first step and open up. They'd never been very good at that. Today was one of those days, it seemed, where Jason was going to be quiet. Once Damien had yelled at him for being too caught up in his teenage angst, and said something along the lines of, "Get your head out of your ass," which, unsurprisingly, didn't go well. They'd had to talk with everyone about healing, although Dick was more inclined to call it lecture over their poor upbringings and mental states. Anyways, he'd been sitting at the kitchen table pushing the cereal around in his bowl, when he heard Jason thumping down the stairs. "Didn't realize you stayed over last night," Dick said. He'd meant it to be a tease, but he didn't get a response. Instead, Jay just pursed his lips and opened up the fridge. Dick tried to suppress a sigh. It wasn't until later, when he heard the sizzling of eggs being fried, and the smell of waffles drifting through the house, that he realized that someone was cooking, and Alfred wasn't in the room. He glanced up only to see his brother at the counter wearing an apron and using the goddamn stove without smoke billowing from the pan. What the fuck? As discreetly as he could, which was extremely, Dick was Nightwing for fuck's sake. He took out his phone and snapped a photo. Of course, what he hadn't noticed was that the flash was on. Jason whirled around, eyes wide, and Dick almost shit his pants. Because he was a lot of things, but good with jump scares was not one of them. "What are you doing? Delete that! Hand over your phone!" "Oh my god, you're blushing," Dick blurted out. "You're showing emotions!" His eyes got even wider when Jason turned off the eggs so they wouldn't burn. "You're being responsible!" he yelled even louder. "Shut up! Give me your phone!" Jason said incredulously. As he leaped over the counter, he had forgotten about the still-cooking waffle iron. That heat burned his arm, and although it couldn't stop him, it still hurt. Fudge! What in the freaking Cornelius Startworth? Dick stared mouth agape, barely remembering to back away when Jason swatted for the phone. "Just give me the freaking phone, Dick!" "Not until you explain what the fuck that was." Jason stopped, the two of them having reached opposite sides of the table. It was a classic situation of, if he goes that way, I'll go the other. This generally led to leaping over the table, and then he could get the phone and delete that photo, and finish his breakfast. "I can cook, dude. It's not that big of a surprise. Alfred lets me even. He's tasted my food. You can ask. I swear I'm not lying." I didn't think you were," Dick replies. "I also didn't think that I'd ever have a conversation with you where you don't cuss." Jason made a little "oh" sound. "Well, Bruce put a ban on it." "He what?" "Yeah, he said, 'Jason, if you don't stop cussing, I'm going to be very disappointed in you, and also talk your ear off, blah 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 blah.'" It was all very enlightening. I'm surprised he hasn't started advertising it to the whole family. "Jay," Dick started, "that was the worst impression of B I've ever heard." "No way that's true. Replacement sucks at impressions. That's another thing." "What?" Jason shifted his weight to his other leg, the white streak in his bangs flopping. Honestly, at this point, he wished this conversation would end, but Dick wanted to hear all of it. This was insane, and it was being treated like it wasn't. Was this another hallucination? It wasn't fear gas. Maybe something else? "You've been told by Bruce not to call Tim replacement, but you don't listen. And now he's telling you not to swear, and all of a sudden you're actually doing it?" "Well," Jason said, turning towards the waffles which had started to beep, "I'm hoping that by doing this, I can annoy everyone enough with my not cursing that he lets me curse again." Dick stared at him. "That's stupid. But At least he knew Jason wasn't fake anymore. How in the hell is that going to happen? Jason just smiled, and Dick couldn't decide whether or not he was happy about it. You'll see. Can I have a waffle? Not until you give me your phone, Dick. That's a swear. It's literally your name. Alright guys, now that's the end of chapter 1 of 5 times Jason Todd didn't swear and 1 time Bruce did by Weather Boy but Derogatory. I hope you guys liked it, and see you next chapter.